What began as an experiment to bring my 11-year-old daughter into my business has evolved into Our Young Creators, a podcast, a training center, and a movement dedicated to equipping kids with real-world marketable skills so that they can fund their own brighter futures. We're here to inspire you to turn consumption time on devices into creation time and use technology as a tool to bond and not bicker with your kids. Join us each week as we share the inner workings of our partnership and bring you stories from guests of all ages and from all walks of life on our quest to nurture and to celebrate our young creators. Hey, welcome back to Our Young Creators, the podcast. You are listening to episode number 123, and today we're diving into the subject of branding. Our guest today on this What If Wednesday episode is Amber Brooks. Amber helps coaches, consultants, and strategists transform their businesses and make a profoundly bigger impact by taking their messaging from scattered to aligned by developing a richer brand voice and compelling copy so they can reach more of the right people and make a bigger impact. Before we dive into our interview, I want to let you know that Amber and I met about a year or so ago in an online course where we were learning how to build sales funnels. Through that process, it was wonderful to see her evolve in her business, and I really do feel at some level we have been leading parallel lives. The challenges that we've both faced and the ups and downs in our business over the years are really, really similar. And she and I also have our introverted tendencies in common. It's really easy for both of us to stay inside of ourselves and to keep our messages internal rather than sharing them in a huge way. So we have both been working on sharing in a bigger way, and the way that Amber helps her clients do it is to get really clear on their brand voice. Today's podcast episode is only a partial interview of my time with Amber. When we went to go upload this episode, there was some sort of ghost inside the first part of the episode where everything was overlapping and you really couldn't hear much of either of us because you could hear both of us talking at the same time. Now, when it was edited previously, that wasn't there. So in the process of editing it, to uploading it, to downloading it again and getting it ready for this podcast, something happened to the file. So I will be asking Amber back for another interview, and I hope that her schedule will be open enough for us to do that so we can really dive more into what is a brand and all those foundational questions that I asked in the beginning of the interview. Today's interview, though, is really, really relevant, especially as new podcasters. As you and your kids are preparing your podcast for release, we dive into some specific things you can do today to help you really get some clarity around what your brand is and what your podcast stands for. And this, my friend, is such a juicy, juicy topic, and I hope you get so much great information out of this. And at the end of the interview, please reach out to Amber and connect with her and get some clarity around your brand if you need. She recently did a strategy session or a clarity session with me where she analyzed the content of my website. This is our brand new website at OurYoungCreators.com. And it was so interesting because while I thought that I was being very clear and very concise and being very compelling in the copy that I put there personally, she pointed out a couple of ways that I could really clarify that, clean it up, and make it much more impactful. So without further ado, here is this partial interview with Amber Brooks. I would love to hear your professional advice for these kids who are now learning to become podcasters and the parents who are supporting them in the process. As they're thinking about creating this brand for their podcast, this very personal brand, all about them and who they are and sharing their story, what are maybe 2 or 3 tips you could give them to really start diving deep into creating a brand that's going to serve them for a long period of time?
Yes. So I was actually thinking about this when we were talking about flexibility a minute ago, because even though we do grow and evolve over time, there's always that constant thread that runs through our lives. There's something about us deep in our soul that's just never going to change. It's just a part of who we are. And for me, I know that my heart leads me constantly to serve others and to teach. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, but at so many points in my life, I've been drawn back to teaching. Mm-hmm. So just knowing that and knowing what really pulls at your heartstrings and is super important to you, those are going to be the things to hone in on. So if you are someone who is a really good source of support, if you're a parent with a child, or if you're a young adult or a child who, when one of your friends gets hurt, you're always the first one to run to and to make sure they're okay and to see if they need anything, and nurturing is a part of your soul, then you know that that's something to hone in on and that you need to include that in your brand. Mm-hmm. So if nurturing is important to you, then you're probably going to be led to something that allows you to nurture others. So that's one thing I would say, is find out the constant threads that run through your life and find a way to implement those into your brand. Another thing that you want to think about, and you talked a bit about this a little bit earlier, is your audience and who is going to be listening to your podcast. Why are they listening? And what are they taking away? What are they feeling after they listen? And how are they connecting to you as the person who's giving them this information? So the constant thread, the audience, and then also for the final piece, I would say it's really important to know how you're different from others. What's so special about you? So for me, I can very quickly tap into the people that I'm working with. I can very quickly tap into their vision and purpose and pull out the really important pieces and help them see the big picture when they can't. Mm-hmm. So if you are a parent or a child or a young adult creating a podcast, you want to know what is different about what you're offering in your podcast as opposed to others who have similar podcasts. Mm-hmm. There could be hundreds of podcasts about teaching arts and crafts. But if you are someone who has a very unique craft that you've developed for yourself and you're sharing that with others, that sets you apart. or if you have a different way of looking at the world than other people, that sets you apart. So just find that one thing, and make sure to include it in everything you do.
And that third point is so important about finding what makes you different, because I think we've both experienced this too, where we went through a period of time where we were trying to fit into what society was telling us, what our families were telling us, what we had decided when we were little, and now as we age, it's not making the same amount of sense, or it doesn't bring us as much joy.
Yeah.
So finding what is different, I think, is a little bit harder these days for kids, because they have all of this media coming at them, and they desperately want to be like so and so, this famous person, or they want to be the next YouTube sensation. However, they're trying to emulate exactly what someone else has done. And I know for me, when I've tried to emulate exactly what someone else has done, it doesn't work for me, and everything gets
Yeah.
really hard and it feels very draining. Whereas if we start embracing and really celebrating our kids and what makes us different, and being able to be an outside perspective into our kids, so if they're having some challenge on figuring out what common threads they have, a parent or a mentor sometimes is so crucial, because they see these things that we sometimes don't recognize in ourselves. So there are so many good takeaways from those 3 tips. Now, I know that you have put something special together and you're working on helping people to really clarify their brand. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you are offering now?
So the main thing that I'm focusing on at this point is the brand identity and voice development. I'm a copywriter and I work with service-based businesses, but I have recently decided to really narrow down my service niche into helping people develop their voice based on their identity, because it is the foundation, and often it gets completely skipped over. People just completely disregard, or sometimes don't even know that's important. So since it has made such a huge difference in the people I've worked with, businesses and lives, I've decided that's what I really need to focus on. And so my main core service that I offer for businesses is a complete identity and voice development guide, which they can then take and use in their businesses, whether they need to bring on, different service providers, copywriters, designers, social media, Facebook ads people, all of that. And then I thought, well, how can I step this back and offer service to more people who don't really need all of that, right? So I'm now offering brand clarity sessions where we have a call and we assess where you're at right now and where you need to be and what we need to uncover to get you there. Or if you don't already have a business, we do that foundational work first so that you know where to go from there, which honestly is a lot easier than if you already have a business and you haven't done all of that work and you're just trying to put all of the puzzle pieces together and they're just scattered everywhere. It can be quite frustrating for business owners. And then I will soon also be putting out a free workshop just to explain the different pieces that go into brand identity and voice and messaging and all of that. So that's what I have going on right now. I'm super excited to get to focus down on this and help people understand how crucial this foundation is, because not enough people are talking about it.
Yep.
And too many people are focusing on the little pieces that are adding up to make a big mess for them. So.
Yes, so I totally agree with all of that, because I think that there are lots of people who work on branding, but they work on imagery first and fonts first. And that's really hard to think about now that I know what I know from you, that starting there is sort of a backwards thing. We need to start again at that foundation and figure out, yeah, who is the identity we resonate with? Who are we serving? What do we want to accomplish? How do we want our listeners to feel? All those things first need to go into creating a beautiful brand. So where can our listeners come and find you and find more about your brand clarity sessions?
I mostly hang out on Facebook. So I'm at facebook.com/copywriter Amber. I'm actually on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Pinterest as Copywriter Amber is my handle. And then I have my website, which right now is at go.amberbrooks.co. So those are all of the various ways that people can connect with me. And as you know, I'm very open to having conversations with people and answering any questions that they might have. Always happy to help clarify things for people and point them in the right direction if possible. So I'd love to hear from your listeners.
That is so amazing, because I can attest and verify that yes, our conversations that we've had prior to this about branding and really clarifying have been so eye-opening. And I think at some level it's easy to put too much thought into the wrong things. And you kind of said, oh, no, this is what I know you're trying to explain. Let's use some different words. Let's use some consistency across everything, so we can make sure that when people look at us or find us or connect with us on our social media, it looks like the same thing happening. There's not one sort of brand style over here and another one over here. We're not sprinkling, we're making a big picture. We're putting all the pieces together as we go through this brand development, voice identity development, and it's going to be ever changing. And that's the beauty of it. We just have to remain flexible and make sure that we are open to receiving feedback and seeking out mentors like you who are experts in this field, because I know it's hard to ask for help and admit you aren't able to do something. However, we all aren't good at everything. There are some things we need to find somebody who can guide us in the right direction. So I hope my listeners will come find you on social. I will post all of your links and connect directly from our website and the show notes from this particular interview, so they can find you directly.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. It's been my pleasure having you. I love when we get a chance to connect, because there's so much goodness that happens, and I always just feel so uplifted and feel like, oh, it's probably easier than I think. I'm just overanalyzing everything. So thank you for everything you give to the world and serving in such a big way. Before we leave, is there one final parting piece of advice you want to leave our listeners with today?
Oh my gosh. I would just say to always be dreaming and always be learning. Don't ever give up on your dreams just because something seems difficult. The way that you can accomplish your dreams is just to continue pushing yourself to learn and grow. So that would be it.
Beautiful. Always be dreaming. Always be learning. That is such a great lesson for everybody. So listeners, head to the website. I will make sure I link everything up over at Our Young Creators, so you can find out more about Amber. You can connect with her. You can talk to her about developing a brand voice, and especially for my young creators. As you are developing your personal brands and your podcasts and so much more, really take what Amber has said to heart and really be yourself. Step into that spotlight, do it boldly, and really live your life to the fullest. Thank you all for tuning in today. We will catch you on the next episode. Cheers. Before you head out on the rest of your day, I want to ask you a question. What are you going to do with what you've learned on this podcast? Are you going to store it inside of your phone and have it there as a reminder of things you want to do? Or are you going to take action? If your answer is taking action, then I invite you to join us inside of Ninja School. We just opened the doors last week, and this program was developed because of all of the questions we kept getting asked about how the heck do we get our message on so many different platforms. Inside of Ninja School, it's all about taking massive action. Not only are we going to learn the tactical aspects of incorporating some tools and software into our businesses, we're also going to dive into a bit of strategy so that there is a reason why you're sharing your message and you're wanting to get it on more platforms. Now look, I know summer is coming up and you probably want to work a little bit less inside of your business. I totally get it. And if that is you, you definitely want to join us in Ninja School because we're going to learn to automate the process of getting our message on multiple platforms. And we're talking 50 plus. And we're going to be able to do it in less time than you're probably taking right now to get on just a handful. If this sounds like something you're ready to incorporate into your business to free up time and to reach more people, then, my friends, I invite you to head over to bit.ly/OYC Ninja. And I look forward to helping you, holding your hand, and taking massive action together. Head over to bit.ly/OYC Ninja. Cheers, my friends.